Joe! Joe on Joe is the only podcast where Joe talks about Joe. And now, your host, Joe Slepsky.
Hey everybody, it's me, your host, Joe Slepsky, and welcome back to Joe on Joe. This is the only podcast where I cover every episode of the G.I. Joe Sunbow cartoons, DIC. We even covered Extreme and every issue of Marvel Real American Hero, the comic book, page by page, panel by panel, episode by episode. This week we've got another great edition of You on Joe. You, the Joe fan who loves America's greatest fighting force. You are the star of the show and your specific favorite part of the G.I. Joe team or Cobra. I hope you guys have been enjoying these last few weeks because I absolutely have. And I've heard from so many of you listeners saying we love the format. So we're going to keep this going. So if you want to participate and be a guest, please reach out to me on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Joe on Joe Pod, or you can send me an email to joeandjoepod@gmail.com. and let me know what topic you want to cover. The more specific, the better. It's real easy. We have a nice little 45-minute chat over Zoom, and then you're broadcast to the world. And while you're online, please rate and review us on any podcast app you've got. Every review helps. If you're so inclined, you can visit our Patreon page, patreon.com/JoeandJoePod, help keep the show afloat. And while we're doing that, let's also give some love to our fabulous sponsors, the Movies and a Meal podcast. In the beginning of time, the smallest organism gained sentience and thought to itself, I really need a good meal. Then, a bunch of other stuff happened, and finally the Lumiere brothers started showing movies in France. This was all the inspiration that fellow broadcasters Brad, Keith, and Ben needed to combine these two primal needs into the Movies and a Meal podcast. The Movies and a Meal is one of the most casual and relaxing film talk podcasts you could ever listen to. These three friends enjoy a good meal together while talking all about the movies. And not just reviews. They do favorite lists, comparison discussions, genre talks, anything and everything that you can think of. They've even broken their solemn promise inherent in the name and branched out into TV talk. So I love the variety of films they bring to the table. They cover new releases, classics, cult films, often in one episode. It's really a delight to listen to, and it has something for every movie fan out there to enjoy. So if you're looking to grow your podcast library, if you eat meals, and if you've ever seen a movie, then you should give Ben, Keith, and Brad a listen and subscribe to the Movies and a Meal podcast. They've been a great sponsor to this show. I love the Movies and a Meal podcast, and I'd like all of you to love them too. This week, I'm excited because we're welcoming friend and friend of the show, Matt Plassman. He's coming back to Joe on Joe to discuss his favorite sub-team, Battle Force 2000. Matt, he's a showrunner's assistant here in Hollywood. He's worked on some very major sitcoms that you would all recognize, and he's a very talented writer in his own right. So when a guy as astute as Matt says, hey, Joe, Battle Force was my absolute favorite, you need to sit up and pay attention as to why. Battle Force 2000 was a sub-team released in 1987. It consisted of 6 members and also 6 accompanying vehicles, of which portions of could be combined to make a mobile battle platform. Our conversation here goes over all of this in detail. We include what worked for the program, and we also what didn't work for the Battle Force team. And absolutely not, we did not forget about DJ, so don't you sweat that. I enjoyed this deep dive so much, it made me reevaluate my previous, we'll just say, disinterest, to be kind, of the Battle Force team. So that was my biggest takeaway, and I enjoyed it so much. Please sit back, listen to this chat I had with my friend Matt Plassman about his personal rosebud, Battle Force 2000. That is tremendous. That's absolutely tremendous. I like that. Probably done in like MS Paint.
Yep.
Yeah. And so therefore it looks like it's it looks like the Never Forget is spray painted on.
That's exactly what I was going for.
Yeah. Like you're just a vandal a Battle Force 2000 vandal roaming the streets, telling the world,
Never.
never forget. Never forget. That is awesome, Matt Plassman.
It's embarrassing how long it took me to get it to look.
Well, Matt Plassman, you're a writer. You're not an artist.
No.
And never before has it been more evident. Oh man, never forget B Force 2000 is awesome. Matt, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. You are a massive Battle Force 2000 fan.
I think it's a low bar to be considered a massive.
Well, it's a low bar, but there's still there's something to be said for it. And I think what you're going to find is that today we're going to this is slightly going to become an in defense of Battle Force 2000 conversation. So buckle in, strap down. So Matt, the year is 1987. You're a young child. How old would you have been in 87?
4.
4 years old. You're a 4-year-old kid. You've barely spoken a word, and one of the few words out of your mouth at 4 years. No, 4 years old. You kids speak already. Not you though. You were slow, Matt. I'm painting a picture here. You were a kid. You were mute. You were mute till you were 4 years old, and the first words out of your mouth were Battle Force 2000. Is that true? Am I painting the proper portrait of your connection to Battle Force?
That's so true. I was reading chapter books at 3, but I was not.
You weren't vocalizing. I'm sure you could read.
No,
I never said anything about you being unable to read. You could read and you could comprehend things. It's just you chose not to share your thoughts.
And I looked up and I go, Mother, Battle Force 2000, please.
Tuppence for Battle Force, Mother. Mother, the millennium is right around the corner. We're scant 13 years away from the year 2K, Mother. Can we get more Battle Force 2000? So when did you remember the first time you encountered Battle Force 2000?
I got them. I think what I got Avalanche and Blaster in a 2-pack.
Yep.
And the Vindicator hovercraft.
Sweet.
I think I got it for Christmas, and I think I might have missed that Christmas. I might have been homesick, which was typical for me on holidays.
Mm-hmm.
I have a memory of me on the couch with like the sheet over it. We always put on the couch when we were sick, and having those 3 things. I don't know. I don't think I specifically asked for them. I don't know how G.I. Joe even came into my life. I think I may have talked about this when I was on the first time.
Yeah. So
all of a sudden I just had a V1 Flint and an armadillo tank.
Oh, that's awesome.
Really
so when your mom said, Matt, what do you want for Christmas? Your answer wasn't, Mom, I want the character sensations of 1987. That was not what you said.
I always seem to come into like fandom sideways and mysteriously. So I don't know.
So to broad stroke it, these guys were released in 87. There were 6 initial figures and 6 accompanying vehicles.
And they weren't packaged together,
they weren't packaged together, but it said, if you get all the vehicles, you can then create the 7th master vehicle, which was the playset, which was the Battle Force 2000 Future Fortress. And that was a big drawing point. And this 87, that Transformers with, combining and making Devastator and things like that. That was a big thing of it was new at the time of buy all of these figures and then you could build this bigger one. Right. So that was
haven't gotten away from that.
No, we still haven't. Oh no. Yeah, no, it's definitely a draw. If you look at any of the, like the Marvel Legends stuff.
Yeah,
I've
Build-A-Figures.
So many times people are like, why does at the shop they're like, why does this person come with a disembodied head of Apocalypse or whoever? It's like, oh, it's a Build-A-Figure. Yeah. So
this is grim and gritty play.
Yeah. So you just get one left arm that Thunderbird ripped off of Apocalypse. And they were meant to be exactly what the name sounds like, the futuristic fighting force, right? 2000 was right around the corner. And by that, I mean, it wasn't. I feel like 13 years is stretching it. But at the same time, maybe one of the earliest forward-thinking ones, you know, of the lines of saying, hey, let's get ahead of it, you know, like Marvel 2099, which, you know, that started before the year 1999, but it certainly didn't start in 1987.
No, and when you're like a kid in 1987, I remember 2000 felt forever.
Oh yeah,
it's never going to come. Like I remember, like we were going to be a class of 2002, and thinking like 2002 is never going to come. I'm never going to graduate.
We were never going to realize Prince's dream of partying like it's 1999.
No,
that was so far off in the future. And then when it did actually come, we weren't sure. Well, do we party like it's 1999 on New Year's of 1998, or do we party in 1999 on New Year's of 99? What was the message Prince was trying to tell us?
He gave poor instructions.
He really did. And do we party that whole year? Like, is it just the whole year should be a party, or is it just the New Year's? Is it just rolling into 2000? Because he's probably talking about the actual the celebration of 1999 turning into 2000, but it also could be the entire year. So Battle Force 2000, are we to celebrate all of the future or just the year 2000? In other words, you're right. In other words, when 2001 comes, do they update their name? Do they go, no, well, now we're obsolete and we have to disband?
After they hit 2000, now they would still be fighting with weapons from 2000. They are stuck.
Yeah, they're stuck.
Now we're the guys with the old weapons.
Yeah, they can't get any driver updates for their software. They're like, no, we stopped supporting you back on January 1st, 2001. You know, yeah, I get it. And you know, they were designed to be futuristic looking for the most part. You know, we'll quick run down the names. There's Avalanche, there's Blaster, there's Blocker, Dodger, Knockdown, and Maverick. Those were the 6 initial ones. Now, your personal favorite, DJ, and I know 89. He's your personal favorite. Yeah, he came out 2 years later. But he was, there he is. He's in the feed. But he was still included as Battle Force 2000, even though he didn't get his own vehicle, right? He was just the communication.
They also released the pulverizer that year.
Okay. So
he's not listed like everybody else on their file cards are listed as being a particular vehicle driver, but he's not. But so I guess it's just kind of like, well,
he's too busy.
You have a vehicle who doesn't have anybody to drive.
Yeah, he's too busy working the mic. Because what did the hold on, the file card for DJ was fabulous. Do you happen to have it in front of you? Because
I have it right here in front of me.
Oh wow, because I do. Yeah, I do too. You want to read it?
Yeah. File name: Thomas R. Rossi III. Primary military specialty: radio telephone operator. Secondary military specialty: infantry. All the way. Birthplace: Providence, Rhode Island. All the way is in parentheses.
All the way is awesome because I don't remember seeing something like that. Like
some of these have like some attitude.
Yeah, I don't see a descriptor on anyone else's.
Let's see here. Grade SP4 specialist. DJ was the baddest, hottest disc jockey in Boston before he signed up for the Battle Force 2000 team. Complicated sound equipment was no problem for him. If it is loaded with transistors, portable, and transmit or receives radio waves, DJ can make it work, fix it, and coax strange sounds out of it with an infectious beat.
First of all, hilarious. They're the futurists. And I know they were technically, yes, they're futuristic, but they were fighting 2000. Transistors.
Yes.
That stands out as not being very futuristic. Remember, Iron Man's armor used to run on transistors for the longest time. That's awesome. Go ahead. Continue.
The quote, simulated ground wave transmitters and ultra-fast burst encoders are complicated pieces of electronic hardware. If you're penned down in the bush and need a medevac extraction or old-fashioned air support, you're just whistling in the wind if your radio is down for the count. His teammates can count on DJ to get the message out, even if he has to rebuild a transmitter from parts. Once he's on the air, it's his chatter that they can do without.
Or if you want to get those wheels of steel spinning, DJ's your guy. It's funny. So I was just looking at the other file cards, like Blocker's file card. His secondary specialty is special services, but he's not all the way.
Well,
Blaster secondary is the microwave technician, but not all the way. Avalanche. Let's see. Is he all the way? Avalanche?
No.
Cold weather survival.
He's got a great one. I love Avalanche's story.
Well, so let's see what his story is.
He comes from a family of poachers, smugglers, and bootleggers.
Amazing.
But he didn't want to get in the family business, and they talk about how they dropped him and his other trainees out in the wilds with a knife and a compass. And all the rest of the trainees came back after a week, and they found Avalanche a month later, 200 miles away, lounging in a motel and spending the money he had made from the furs he brought in.
That's
with
so
just
great.
a night.
That's so great. That's so great. So talking about the figures and what about them, let's kind of go over and like talk about what about them makes them so futuristic. So we get the gist of it, right? It's them trying to capitalize on, quote unquote future forces fighting and all that stuff.
Yeah, that was kind of big in the late 80s.
Yeah, exactly.
Forward looking,
exactly.
Back to the Future 2 was around the corner.
Exactly. So there's no actual chrome, but there's a lot of silver painted pieces on all these guys, so it's like they're wearing chrome. Avalanche certainly has that. Blocker does. Dodger, it's more of a muted gray, but it's still there. Like the pieces are still there that look futuristic. Knockdown does. Maverick totally does. Maverick looks like an
astronaut almost, without a helmet.
Yeah, the only one really that looks quasi-normal for the time would be Blaster.
Yeah, Blaster's just in green, pretty much.
Yeah, except for his gun. That's the other thing. So their guns are also these wild laser designs.
Yes.
They look like, frankly, most of them look like Flash Gordon lasers. And I actually mean that as a kind of a cool compliment. They really do look like they would be at home in that Flash Gordon movie.
They do look a little different. Like Avalanche has like a rifle I always thought was really cool. And Blaster's is kind of like a flat, it almost looks like a suitcase.
Yeah. So, Avalanche they're calling it a P480 Sub-Zero stun gun. Blaster, who has like a very Rob Liefeldian, overly large pistol.
Yes.
And I'm saying that as a descriptor, not as a drag. I really mean that as a descriptor, so you guys can get an idea of, like the guns that are just stacked and stacked. It's like the gun is like 5 inches too tall than it needs to be. They call it the infragreen laser pistol. Blocker has kind of a piratey looking pistol. Like his looks like very swashbucklery. They call it the submachine gun laser. Dodger definitely has in my eyes, he's got a Flash Gordon or like Buck Rogers style laser, where there's like studs on the one grip. It's called the ultrasonic photon rifle. Knockdown has also a Liefeldian gun, way too tall, and that's the experimental ground to air pistol. And then Maverick comes with a total Flash Gordon gun. It's semi-automatic machine pistol. That's all they're calling it. But it looks like it looks like something from Mongo. And he's got his mask, Maverick's mask, looks like Matt Tracker's mask from the Toyline Mask.
Yeah.
And if we could get the word mask in there one more time, let's do it. And then
it definitely looks like a mask helmet.
Yeah, it really does. And all their helmets then, on top of that, their helmets all have odd accoutrement, we'll say.
And that made me, like, even as a little kid, I realized, hey, my Avalanche and Blaster didn't come with the helmet add-on.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, because their helmets are glued onto their heads, right?
Yeah, but no, like, Avalanche's microphone and Blaster's mouth plate didn't come with my figures.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
They snapped on separately. And I don't know if that was just like my bad luck or if the 2 packs didn't come with them, but the single packs that were released first did.
Oh, interesting. Well, let's see here. Let's see if we can call this up. I'm having trouble calling up the images now on yojo.com to embiggen them. That's interesting if they didn't. Well, I wonder if that's a matter of, like they had surplus, and when they repacked them, those pieces got lost in the shuffle.
Yeah, that's what I imagine.
Yeah, but also that their helmets are actually part of their heads.
Yes.
Which I imagine would save on cost, because the G.I. Joe helmets, a whole lot of them, they were just the generic round helmets, right? So in this case, they would have had to tool up 6 different helmets, instead of Maverick does. Maverick's the only one. Maverick and Knockdown have removable helmets, but the others don't. So I imagine that's a cost saving thing there too. And then their camo style is a little more forward tech future thinking. It's a little bit like Avalanche is a little reminiscent of that V2 Storm Shadow.
Yes.
Where it's the square kind of rectangular blocky camo instead of traditional, I don't know, forest round, like rounded camo. It's more blocky shapes. And with they got funky boots, ribbed for their pleasure, it's, you know what I'm saying? It's like where you could zig for a Joe character, they zagged.
And the detail, the details are interesting on some of them as futuristic. Well, Avalanche seems to have nunchucks strapped to his leg. I don't quite get that. But Blaster has down on his right leg, he's got that blue patch. Looks like circuitry, some kind of keypad.
Yep.
And he's got the back of his helmet has silver bars going around it that could also be some kind of circuitry.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I'd be lying if I didn't say this wasn't the line that I made my decision to pull the plug on G.I. Joe, because it was. I've said that before. I've mentioned that before on the show. This 100% was when I saw these guys in the store. I don't know what it was about them that repelled me. Maybe it was the logo. Honestly, I don't know. But
the logo isn't great.
The logo is not good. But I remember really with these guys kind of being repulsed by them. Repulsed, probably repelled. It turned me off. Let's put it that way.
I had the same reaction to the Eco Warriors.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. They're just too Technicolor.
Yeah. And that's the thing. These guys weren't even Technicolor yet. When it got to the Technicolor, definitely that was my final straw. But when I saw these guys, it was the first, and this was 87, man. 87 was a good year for me. I was 12 years old. Tunnel Rat. Let's see, Jinx, Law and Order, Outback, Psycho. I had almost all of these. I didn't have I didn't have a lot of the vehicles I remember from this year, but I got them. But I got a lot of the figures. Outback I thought was good. Crazy Legs I was a big fan of. Right.
It's so funny. You were getting out right when I was getting out.
Yeah, it was.
Because 88's I was looking at the 88 stuff, and that's really, I have a lot of the 88 stuff.
Yeah, I had Raptor. That was that year. I had Crocmaster, Crystal Ball. That was my last, the Battle Armor, Cobra Commander, I never had Big Boa. But Slaughter's Renegades, I liked because the movie, but I never got them. So this was my out year for sure, and I really do distinctly remember being turned off by Battle Force. But looking back at them now as figures, I kind of like them. They're different, and they're different, and they also, while they're not team, it's not like they're wearing team colors like some of the later, like Slaughter's Marauders would wear,
and like Tiger Force.
Yeah, they're not doing that, but there's definitely a theme where you put them all together and you go, oh yeah, okay, yeah, they're future dudes. Yeah. So I'm not really, in retrospect, I'm not really that turned off by the figures themselves. So that's where my heart started to turn as I was prepping for the show, Matt. Where I'm like, I'm
going to convert you.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, these figures, I can live with these figures, So now the vehicles they came with, as we mentioned a few of them, they were sold in addition to
which was weird.
Yeah, they were the drivers, but they were sold separately. So Eliminator, the Dominator, the Marauder, the Sky Sweeper, the Vector, the Vindicator, and then they all combined to be the Future Fortress. So now I'll say this. The words I just said out loud was a lie. I'm referencing the really, really great book by Mark Bellomo, the Ultimate Guide to G.I. Joe, right? That's what if you hear pages flipping, listeners, that's what I'm flipping through. This also is a lie when it says following 6 vehicles combined to make the Battle Force 2000 Future Fortress. That's not true. Do you know where I'm going with this? Pieces of the vehicles.
Pieces. Yes,
combine.
Pieces
Yes. Combine. And I get it from a marketing, it's much easier to say these vehicles combine to form this. And in my head, because I've never really dug deep into the Battle Force, because it's always been, ugh. In my head, I thought the vehicles themselves, so like you'd be playing with the vehicles and then you park them together in whatever, and then they made that really awkward square. And I will say, the Future Fortress looks awkward. It doesn't look menacing. The final product isn't great, right?
I didn't have all the vehicles, so I never got to try to even build it.
Yeah,
but I kind of have the impression that they just kind of like sat together and didn't even hook together.
So there's a lot that's going against it. It just makes kind of a 3/4 full square. There's a bunch of weaponry. It just sits there. They don't actually connect, so it's not like you pop them together and then it's a defensible thing. Like you could probably easily knock them apart really easy. So there's a lot going against this Future Fortress, right?
It feels like a lame add-on gimmick.
Yeah,
I will give that part that.
Right. I'm not going to defend.
Absolutely.
I'm not going to defend the way it looks because I don't think it looks great. Whatever. But here's what I'm going to defend. I thought it meant that like while you were playing, your vehicles like transformed into that, and then that was it. No. Pieces of your vehicles. You could still then the Vector. It was the gun turret from the Vector popped off and became the gun turret on this Future Fortress.
But yeah, the Vindicator, which is the one I had,
Mm-hmm.
the blue thing dropped out of the bottom of the
Right.
body, so the main hovercraft could still fly around.
Right. So you could still be having your adventures, and these guys are still rolling around in their vehicles without sacrificing that to build this Future Fortress. The Dominator, even, which you would think is like, you look at it when it's all put together, it's a snow tank, and it's got like, it's funny, it's got snow treads, and yes, you could see the wheels underneath it, so I guess that's what would be propelling it. But realistically, there's nothing propelling it because it's just got 4 skis.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like when you think about the Battle Cat, it's got the 2 front skis and then the giant tank treads in the back that propel it forward. There's actually nothing to propel the Dominator forward. There's no tank, you know what I mean? Like snow-based thing. Like those wheels are going to have trouble and stuff. Anyway, but pull that aside. The Dominator, it's the outer shell of that, which pops off to make the front 90-degree wall of the fortress.
Yeah.
You then have this whole 6-wheeled mini armadillo-like thing that you can drive around and shoot people with.
Yeah.
I think that's awesome.
Yeah, that's cool. That's like, because the base is like, we're stuck, but oh, no, we're not.
Right.
We can still run around and come back.
And even, so I'm even reading this promo stuff that they've got in the book here. It says, this is from the Joe catalog, I guess. Together, these 6 highly advanced attack units form the most indestructible stronghold in the entire G.I. Joe arsenal, the BF-2000 Future Fortress. No, they don't. Pieces of them do. Which is, as someone who works in marketing, I get it. That's a harder conversation to get across. But I think when you get it across, instead of being a collect all these to make this vehicle, it's collect all these to make your play even more exciting.
Yeah.
Because it's a total bonus. It's a total bonus. You're not losing anything with this. And I really think that's been lost, or was lost at the time. So here's me critiquing the marketing decisions of 1987 Hasbro.
Well, the line didn't go over very well, so they were wrong.
It's true though. Like as I was reading this, this is what made my heart turn for these guys.
Really?
I went, that's really cool, because it is not replaced. You still have like the Vector's kind of a cool jet like that, and that cool jet can still fly around and do stuff.
Yeah.
Vindicate a hovercraft, you're getting shot in the face though, regardless. I'm just saying that right now. They don't even give you a plastic windshield. Like you're
just out
in the future, we don't have wind.
In the future, we don't get shot.
Whoever designed that's the one who designed the Havoc. So So I think that's actually pretty cool. I really think that's pretty cool. Do you agree? I mean, you love this stuff anyway.
I do. I was just, a sci-fi kid somehow. So that's why that's what I liked about this stuff. Was because my other toys at the time were Transformers, GoBots, Mask, Ghostbusters, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Like G.I. Joe is this weird, like ordinary soldiers were a weird outlier.
Yeah. And then we fast forward to 89, and then we get your already discussed DJ, who he's got that feature that I love, which is the hose that connects from his uniform to one of his weapons.
No, it just connects.
Wait, it doesn't
from his helmet to his shoulder.
Oh, that's it? Oh, that's hilarious. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize. I thought, because I saw the hose. I see the hose and I see the pegs, but you're right. Then that is just a giant.
It's just a hose.
That's a huge hose to go approximately a quarter of an inch. That's really pretty funny. I know you still have your DJ. Do you still have the hose for DJ?
Yeah, I'm sure I've got my box of G.I. Joes here. I'm sure it's in here somewhere.
Funny. And then the pulverizer came out in 89, and that has that's funny. That pulverizer came with a seatbelt. That's hilarious. Not a lot of almost no other Joe vehicle had a seatbelt. Pulverizer was too much action.
Too much.
Or maybe that was actually, it's funny. It was in the mid to late 80s when they started putting out the seatbelt laws. I wonder if there was somehow someone was like, none of your vehicles have seatbelts, G.I. Joe.
I felt like I fought with a lot of seatbelts on my G.I. Joe toys. So maybe they were coming in as you were getting out.
Because I'm none on mine. All right, well, let me think. Well, they had not so much seatbelts, but there were seat brackets, like things to keep them in place. You know what I mean? I'm thinking like the APC had a bracket that went over everyone's lap. But but what would be called an actual seatbelt? I don't know. Because when I grew up, just a little bit older than you, those wild times, man. You could sit in a car with no seatbelt, no child carrier. Four people crammed into the front wide seat, like no bucket seats, right? Just one big bench seat in the front of your car. As many kids as you could cram in there.
I mean, that's what made it safer. You don't need seatbelts because you're just crammed in there so tight. You're not going to move.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and the pressure from us squeezing and popping through the window was enough to clear you of any debris. That was a different time. So that's interesting. So why a seatbelt for that one vehicle? But that vehicle does not. This is the pulverizer we're talking about. Does not contribute to the battle platform at all. No. So you're left out.
It doesn't look like it has even a second piece that pops off.
Yeah, you're left out, DJ. Now they did have some commercials.
To protect America, Battle Force 2000 creates the battle vehicles of the future.
Nobody beats G.I. Joe's Battle Force 2000.
Skysweeper, Eliminator, Vindicator.
Nobody beats G.I. Joe's Battle Force 2000.
Dominator, Vector, and Marauder, they split and recombine into the awesome Future Fortress.
Nobody beats G.I. Joe, the real American hero.
Battle Force 2000 figures and vehicles sold separately. Collect all 6 vehicles to form the Future Fortress.
But they did have a major presence in the comic book, as we as discussed when we first started this episode with your Never Forget graffiti. Now, before we get to their big demise, they first appeared in issue 68 of Real American Hero as kind of a backup team in Frozen Land, so to speak. Do you remember getting this comic book, and did you associate it with the figure you had? This came out in.
I can tell you no. I did not have the comic books.
Oh, okay.
I didn't get into comics until 92.
Got it.
I got out of G.I. Joe in 91. And I had this weird thing, even as a little kid, I had got a couple of G.I. Joe comic books, but I, at the time, was kind of like, I don't want these comic books about toys. These are for kids.
They're cover dated February of 88. So probably would have been on the stands around October or November of 87.
The only Battle Force 2000 appearance I have is their last one, which I acquired literally 3 years ago this month.
Well, that's awesome. So they showed up and they had a fun little adventure. Larry famously has been on the record saying that he was not a fan. In fact, when they gave him the rights to kill people off when we get to 113, he was just like, I don't know what, I don't mean to put words in his mouth, but it was like, how about Battle Force 2000? Can we just?
He didn't even put them all in there. Like I read it last night, and you only really see Dodger and DJ.
The irony there being Dodger's the only one that survives, but is later called dead. Referenced as dead later on in the series, even though he is the only one that survives.
And you only see the Marauder. Everything else, the others, they're drawn in really low detail. They could be any vehicle, and you don't know who's in them.
They might as well be red shirts. They really are treated as red shirts in that issue. They show up in G.I. Joe 81, and this is like a road chase episode. They did a few of these where they'd be in Jersey, they'd run across the Dreadnoks, they'd get into a car chase, the Dreadnoks would escape into the swamps, kind of a thing. And that's what this is too. So it's Battle Force 2000 in their futuristic planes and boats and skiffs and hovercrafts and things like that, driving up and down the Jersey Turnpike, paying tolls, things like that, which is funny. Zanzibar, I believe that was Zanzibar's introduction, or close to his introduction. Thrasher's in it, so on and so forth. So that they were used a little bit to comic relief. Yeah. But it was more about what are these crazy new vehicles doing on the highway? And then they properly went away until 113. And I would say it's a sign of no one cared, because the death is actually, it's just straight up told on the front of the comic. And when I say no one, I mean fandom, right? Yeah. It's kind of you don't want to overhype it. You don't want to say more major deaths continue inside. And then you open it up and the only people they kill are Battle Force 2000. Because then the reader's like, well, I thought you were going to kill Roadblock or somebody, a major character. And all you did was...
they're not even on the cover.
Yeah, right. They're not even on the cover.
Roadblock and Muskrat?
Yeah, exactly. And so they're not even on the cover. So you don't want to overhype and tease it to say, we got a massive event happening here. And then, goodbye, DJ. We hardly knew ye. So they even say it on the cover, the death of, and they do put a question mark, but still, It's the death of. So I think that's hilarious. Avalanche, Blocker, Maverick, Blaster, Knockdown, and DJ.
Yes.
All hit it. In later issues, when they're referencing all the guys who died, Dodger is listed amongst them. But we know Dodger survived, specifically, actually, because he is, I believe, is the only one to get another figure. He joined the Sonic Forces.
Sonic Fighters. Yojo.com has a 1993 DJ release.
A 93 DJ. So
yeah.
So
what's this?
Did DJ get two?
He was a mail order. He was a mail order as part of the Arctic Commandos.
Okay. Well, then that's cool though. That's exciting. That means he survived. And is he? Let's see. Let's go here. Is he still? Oh, I think I have too many windows open. I think that's my problem here. I think that's what's happening here. The website is I can't open any more of these windows. Yeah. Because I was easily opening them earlier. Okay, so he's an so DJ survived to become an Arctic Commando. Now they were all part of in 2017 they were all included in the G.I. Joe Collectors Club. They did a Battle Force 2000. So that's cool. I usually they certainly count. They look good. They certainly count in the sense of they made figures for them. But in my brain it's always that initial run, Everything past that is kind of just a retro look back, even though I know they did new characters and stuff here and there. And that initial run. So DJ did. Okay, that's good. But everyone else, was it. Cares. They're one shot at stardom.
And you blew it.
Yeah. Just like Eminem. Just like Eminem predicted. You got one shot, guys. And only Dodger and DJ made the most of it. I love that DJ survived. That's funny. I didn't notice that.
But he was also in the he was in the Marauder with Dodger in the comic book.
Nah. Oh yeah.
In the back seat.
Well, maybe the Marauder just has really good shielding. I think that's what we're learning here, right?
That's the thing. But I think DJ counts as dead in the comic book. It's that confusing thing.
Oh wow, they also did a it looks like they did a minifig of DJ too. Yeah, you know those minifigs they were doing?
Yeah.
I'm seeing a minifig of him. And yeah, he got commercials, and he was included in the United Kingdom release and Brazilian releases. So DJ had a little life to him.
He was definitely the most futuristic looking one.
Yeah, for sure. Plus, they predicted the rise of techno and EDM music and stuff. Like we're gonna need a good DJ in the future.
His backpack is all looks like speaker woofers.
Let me see it. Oh yeah, you're right. It does. Oh, totally does. Yeah, his rifle's crazy too. His rifle actually looks a little bit like a Cobra Law kind of rifle.
Yeah,
it's got that rounded vibe. Now, what good, Maverick being the jet fighter pilot, what good did those pointy shoulders do him? I feel like that's a detriment. That's going to hit the cockpit, going to crack a cockpit window or something. I feel like that's not.
Yeah,
that's an impediment there, Mav. I do love that it's a great call sign, but they just took it from Top Gun.
Right.
They just took it. Here you go, Top Gun. We got our own Maverick. His primary specialty is pilot. He doesn't have a secondary specialty, so he's not all the way in on anything.
He's just kind of a pilot. Or maybe that's the point. Maybe he is all the way in on being He's
a pilot.
So in on pilot.
Yeah, he doesn't have time for anything else. I'm just here to fly. So Battle Force 2000, is this, if I know you're not collecting the classifieds or any of the new stuff, right?
No.
If they did a BF 2000 classified run, would you pick them up? Classifieds, and the classifieds cost about $25 a piece. I think they're starting to go up in price. They're going to be up to about $25 a piece. So those nice 6-inch deluxe, if they had the courage, I'm calling you out, Hasbro. If you had the courage, you're cowards, you're afraid. If they had the courage to do a Battle Force 2000 classified run, would you get them, Matt?
I would. They are dear to my heart.
Yes. Well, listen, Hasbro, that is 6.
One custom.
7, actually 7, because it'd be one, because really DJ's the 7th member. That is 7 sold classified figures right there. It's $175. I think that's worth making.
It is. It's absolutely.
Yes, I think they should get on this. They've been doing a lot of Tiger Force, and they did a few Slaughter Marauder variants. I think it's time to get on Battle Force 2000. Now, if actually, to be fair, probably if Super 7 did it, that would probably we'd probably see that sooner rather than classifieds. The Super 7, those smaller ones, the 3 3/4, but they primarily do Sunbow stuff, and these guys really never made it.
Shame.
It's a shame. I'm going to stop ragging on Battle Force 2000. I can't say we'll never be a punchline again. But, I think they're maligned. I think they're overly maligned, Matt.
They are. And I get it. It's supposed to be, it's a line that starts out as, military, kind of, obviously heightened, but certainly skewing towards more realistic military figures and vehicles. And now you've got these guys with laser guns.
And it's not just laser guns, because we had sci-fi.
Yeah.
We had laser. It's super, the guy had a ground to air handgun. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It was stuff like that. We're no, this is not just a laser gun. It's a magic gun.
It's a they go a little out there.
But. Yeah, for sure. That was always a weird thing to wrap my head around as a kid, being kind of a literal kid of they shoot lasers, but then some of them have guns, like are like actual real guns. But then on the show, everyone's shooting lasers. But then they say they have laser specialists. Well, if they're all shooting lasers, why do they need a laser specialist? Aren't they all laser specialists? Then we're talking about Ace, and they all can fly a Sky Striker. So why do you need a Sky Striker pilot? What is what is going on? I always needed answers for that when I was a kid, and the best would just probably be to move on and enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
You little
Stop
weird.
thinking so hard,
You
Chuck.
little weirdo. Yeah. So any last thoughts, Matt Plassman?
Any last thoughts?
In life, not. I mean, I'm coming
life
to
in
your house.
general?
I'm
Well,
coming over to
okay.
murder you. But specifically before then, do you have any last thoughts on Battle Force 2000?
Last thoughts on Battle Force 2000. I do think they deserve to be reappraised. I mean, there's a place for having people who are on the R&D side of on the making things for them, developing new weapons and vehicles, even though they only ever had the one vehicles and weapons.
So you work in Hollywood. You're
Yep.
you're a showrunner's assistant on the upcoming television series Ted, which is very exciting. And someone said to you, Matt, we have the rights to make a Battle Force 2000 TV show. We don't have the rights to any other G.I. Joe aspect, but it's just Battle like Hasbro.
Very strange deal.
Yeah. Well, there was a lawyer screwed up somewhere, just like when they lost the rights to Roadblock for a few years and they couldn't make Roadblock figures. Someone forgot to dot a T and cross an I, and the rights for Battle Force 2000 came up, and Seth MacFarlane, bought Battle Force 2000, Matt. So when I'm done making I mentioned it in the writer's room, and they all said, well, Matt Plassman is the foremost expert on Battle Force 2000. So he comes to you and he says, Matt, pitch me a Battle Force 2000 revival update concept. Matt, what would you pitch them?
Pitch them. Oh, wow. But only Battle Force 2000, so I don't have any G.I. Joe.
So, well, you know what I'm saying. They're part of G.I.
Yeah.
Joe, but you know what I'm
They're
saying. So,
part
like,
of
so conceptually, I'll give you some framework. He goes, we can go to the future and make them Battle Force 3000. Or we could latch onto that 2000 and do a story of them like being out of date.
Well, it depends on if we want to do a comedy.
Right.
Or not. If we want to do a comedy, let's have them be Battle Force 2000.
Okay.
With what we thought was going to be the future and probably didn't have working in 87. And now we're still trying to get it to work. The regular military's gone down. We're in trouble. We need to pull on sheets off things, and they're like
so a giant EMP has ruined all of G.I. Joe's current equipment, and they have to dust off Battle Force 2000. And they have to they have to replace all the transistors.
They do. DJ's in there with his transistors. Blaster's building a new hovercraft from parts.
DJ's still spinning at the time what he thought was future records, but now is just retro records, so it's still in fashion.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I like this. So you would go that route, have more fun with that, keeping them in the moment.
That would be very fun. I think if you go future, I think there's so many action adventure movies that just lean like just this side, like the future almost, where we almost are, where I feel like it would be harder to really kind of sell these guys now that way.
Ooh, how about this one? Battle Force 2000 was a time travel team. So now when Battle Force 3000 shows up, they're actually time travelers from the year 3000. That's what it was. That's what they always were. And then at some point you meet Battle Force 4000 and Battle Force 5000. And it's just this never-ending 1,000-year soldiers that show up to fight against the terrorism of Cobra. Oh yeah, I mean, think about 1,000 years. Think about the changes that would happen in 1,000 years.
Just in 100 years.
I know. So that would be it's like the sequel to Minority Report. It's just all future, or sequel to AI rather. Yeah, it's just all real future stuff. Like 1,000 years from now, humanity is dead, but we're still fighting Cobra. Everyone's been mutated into fatal fluffies.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did have a weird. It's funny. What would you pitch? I had this weird. I was, after reading Avalanche's file card the other night and seeing he was from Maine and poachers, I go, well, wouldn't it be funny? The Dark Shadows crossover.
Matt Plassman, also the world's foremost Dark Shadows fan, by the way, who's he's a tremendously gifted writer and has written some tremendous Dark Shadow stories. I like that. His last name is give me a family from Dark Shadows.
The Collins family.
Yeah, like he's a Collins cousin or something.
When he finds out, like, because he's from a family of poachers, that like he had an ancestor who went supposedly after a werewolf and disappeared.
Yeah.
And they go over and they fall down the stairway through time, and they end up in 1900. And you have like steampunk.
There you go.
Battle Force 2000.
Battle Force 1900.
1900.
Yeah. No, that's it. That's it. Yeah, that's the thing. Actually, I'm sorry. Battle Force 3000. We don't have to go 1,000 years. It could be Battle Force 2100 or Battle Force, But Battle Force 1900, I like that. They have to convert all their stuff to like steampunk. Oh,
and they go fight all the creatures hanging around Collins.
Sure. Okay. Sign me up, Matt Plassman. I'm in. And oh, well, that's the thing. All those creatures, they were hatched from Cobra La. Turns out Cobra La was behind all those creatures. A rogue, yeah, a rogue, just like with Cobra Commander, how he broke off he wasn't the first scientist to break off, and he brought his technology with him, and then Barnabas Collins used it to make not just snake-like creatures, but to make werewolves and bats and all that spooky dark shadow stuff. Matt, it's writing itself. I mean,
it is.
When Seth MacFarlane hears this, we're sign us up. Just sign up our production deal right away. Battle Force 1900, the series, done and done. Matt Plassman, what a pleasure. Thank you so much for being on Yo and Joe this week.
Pleasure to be here, Joe.
You're a delight. You're a friend. And more important than that, you're the world's foremost champion for Battle Force 2000.
Somebody has to be. Gotta fight the good fight. Never forget.
Never forget. And now you know more about Battle Force 2000. And Joeing is half the battle.